There's an idea that keeps popping up online. It's shared as if it were modern wisdom, as if it were freedom. The idea goes like this: if you're saving money in your 20s, you're doing something wrong. They don't say it as a warning, they say it as liberation. They tell you not to overthink, not to worry about the future, to live in the present, to follow your intuition. And the most dangerous thing is that it sounds good, because it's not just financial advice, it's a story, a comfortable story, a story that justifies spending, a story that eliminates responsibility and replaces it with emotion. The problem is that stories shape behavior, and financial behavior has real consequences. This story always starts the same way. Saving is for scaredy cats. Planning is missing out on life. Money is best enjoyed when spent. And so, little by little, a silent idea takes root. Thinking about the future is a mistake. But here's the first uncomfortable truth. Money doesn't respond to emotions. It responds to decisions. And when an entire generation makes decisions based on a flawed narrative, the result isn't freedom, it's fragility. Most people don't live poorly because they earn little. They live poorly because they never learned to think strategically. And no one taught them because it was easier to tell them a pretty story. A story where everything goes well, where the car doesn't break down, where there are no emergencies, where health never fails. But real life doesn't work that way. Real life punishes improvisation. And this is where the worst financial advice of all comes in. Trust your intuition. Your intuition doesn't know about inflation. It doesn't know about economic cycles. It doesn't know about compound interest. Your intuition just reacts. It tells you to buy when everyone else is celebrating. It tells you to sell when everyone else is panicking. That's not strategy. That's collective impulsivity. And the funny thing is this: you'd never hear someone say, choose your doctor by intuition, or build your house by intuition. But when it comes to money, suddenly feeling seems enough. Intuition can help you choose a song or a restaurant, but it can't build financial stability. Saving isn't fear. Saving is foresight. Planning isn't living less. It's avoiding paying the price of improvisation. And yet, this story persists. It repeats itself. It goes viral because it frees people from an uncomfortable burden: thinking. In the next section, we'll break down why this story is so appealing, who benefits from you believing it, and what really happens when you decide not to plan. To understand why this advice is repeated so often, it's not enough to just analyze the money. You have to analyze the story surrounding it. People don't make financial decisions based solely on numbers. They make them based on narratives. And this narrative is especially powerful because it touches on something very deep: the fear of missing out on life. Nobody likes to feel like they're sacrificing the present for an uncertain future. Nobody wants to think they're only half living. So the story is presented elegantly. Don't save, live. Invest in yourself. The money will come. It's a perfect narrative. It doesn't require effort. It doesn't require discipline. It doesn't require immediate responsibility. And above all, it doesn't require sacrifice. But every story has beneficiaries. This narrative benefits a system that thrives on constant consumption, a system that needs you to spend today, not to think about tomorrow. Because a person who plans is a dangerous person for impulsive spending. A person who saves doesn't buy out of anxiety, doesn't buy due to social pressure, doesn't buy to fill emotional voids. On the other hand, a person who lives following their intuition is predictable, is easily manipulated, is profitable. The message isn't accidental. It repeats because it works. It works for credit cards, it works for loans, it works for interest, and it works especially well when it's aimed at young people. In their 20s, they're sold the idea that thinking about the future is betraying their youth. But nobody tells you this: most financial problems don't arise from a lack of income. They arise from a lack of leeway. Wind room to breathe, wind room to decide, wind room to make mistakes without being destroyed. And that leeway is only built in one way, with saving and planning. The opposite story, the uncomfortable one, isn't as appealing. The real story says, start small. It won't all be fun. Discipline today buys peace of mind tomorrow. It's not viral. It doesn't sell dreams, but it works. That's why saving is ridiculed. That's why small amounts are minimized. That's why people say saving $200 a month is pointless. Because if you accept that small things matter, then you accept that your daily decisions matter. And that's scary. It's easier to believe that a big stroke of luck will solve everything in the future than to accept that the future is built slowly. The "don't save" story doesn't free you from the system. It ties you to it. It leaves you without a safety net, without options, without bargaining power. And when an emergency strikes, because it always does, you have no choice. In the next segment, we'll talk about what really happens when you have no savings, how a single crisis can wipe out years of hard work, and why compound interest is the part of the story almost no one wants you to understand. There's a part of life that almost never appears in feel-good stories, not because it's rare, but because it's uncomfortable. Emergencies. The car breaks down, the computer crashes, an unexpected medical expense arises, you lose an income, or simply, life changes. This isn't pessimism, it's statistics. Most people will face at least one serious financial crisis several times throughout their lives. And here lies the key difference between those who plan and those who live by improvisation. It's not that some suffer fewer problems, it's that some have a buffer and others don't. When you don't have savings, an emergency isn't just a problem, it's a chain reaction. First you use the credit card, then you pay interest, then you pay interest on interest. And without realizing it, you work harder to cover the past than to build the future. This is almost never explained this way, but this is how it works. Debt isn't just money you owe, it's future time you've already committed. And the sooner you enter that cycle, the harder it is to get out. Now let's consider the other side of the story. People scoff at saving $200 a month. They call it insignificant. They call it a drop in the ocean. But money doesn't grow in size. It grows over time. $200 a month don't seem like much today, but after a year, they're thousands. After 5 years, they're tens of thousands. After decades, they're choices. Freedom to say no. Freedom to choose. Freedom not to depend on the next emergency. That's compound interest. It's not magic. It's not luck. It's patience applied consistently. And here's the great irony. The same people who say, "Don't save, live," are usually the first to suffer when something goes wrong. Because living without a plan doesn't eliminate problems. It only leaves you defenseless against them. Saving isn't anticipating misfortunes. It's recognizing that life is unpredictable and deciding not to pay that price with interest. The untold story is that financial security doesn't arrive all at once. It arrives slowly, almost silently. While others react, you decide. While others put out fires, you have room to maneuver. In the next section, we're going to dismantle the most repeated comparison of all. Saving little is useless compared to earning a lot, and why that logic is one of the most dangerous mental traps. There's a comparison that always comes up when someone tries to justify not saving. They say, "Why should I save $200 if I'll earn much more someday?" It sounds logical, but it's one of the most dangerous mental traps in financial planning, because it confuses potential with reality. Most people believe their future income will fix the mistakes of the present, but high incomes don't fix bad habits, they only amplify them. If you can't manage a little today, you won't be able to manage a lot tomorrow. In fact, many people with high salaries live the same or worse than those who earn less, not because they don't earn enough, but because they spend according to what comes in, not according to what's best. The problem isn't how much you earn, it's how much you save and how you manage it. The story of the big salary also hides something else. Salaries don't grow constantly. They don't go up when you want them to. They don't go up when you need them to. They depend on the market, on the economy, on decisions you don't control. Betting everything on future income is like building a house on a promise. On the other hand, saving little but consistently builds something real, something that exists even as the world changes. Minimizing the small things is an elegant way to avoid discipline, because accepting that $200 a month matters means accepting that your daily decisions matter, and that's uncomfortable. It's easier to believe that everything will work out with a stroke of luck, a promotion, or a perfect opportunity. But financial reality doesn't work with peaks and valleys. It works with accumulation. Freedom doesn't come when you earn more. It comes when you need less and have some leeway. And that leeway is only built all at once. It's built when no one's watching, when it's not exciting, when it's not viral. Saving little isn't thinking small, it's thinking long-term. In the last segment, we'll wrap things up. We'll tie everything together and make it clear what the truly worst financial advice is and what the narrative is that actually works for building real stability and freedom. After all this, it's clear that the problem isn't an isolated piece of advice. The problem is the story that keeps repeating itself behind it. The story that says that thinking is limiting, that planning is being afraid, that saving is living less. But that story is incomplete because it never talks about the cost of not planning. It never talks about the constant anxiety, the silent stress, living reacting instead of deciding. The worst financial advice isn't just don't save. The worst financial advice is this: listen to your intuition with money, because intuition has no financial memory. It doesn't remember interest rates. It doesn't remember crises. It doesn't remember past mistakes. Intuition lives in the present. Money lives in time. When you make financial decisions based on emotion, you relinquish control. And when you relinquish control, someone else takes it for you. The bank, debt, the system. Planning doesn't take away your freedom. It gives it back. It allows you to say no. It allows you to wait. It allows you to choose. Saving isn't a renunciation of life. It's a renunciation of chaos. You don't have to live in fear to live strategically. You don't have to stop enjoying life to build stability. You just have to accept that money needs reason, not impulses. That feeling isn't planning. That wanting isn't deciding. And that true freedom doesn't come from spending, but from having a margin. The right story doesn't promise a perfect life. It promises something better: responsiveness. The ability to face problems without destroying yourself. The ability to make decisions without urgency. And that story always begins the same way, with something small, consistent, silent, a saving, a plan, a rational decision. It's not the most exciting story, but it's the one that works. The next time you hear, follow your intuition with money, stop. Ask yourself if that story protects you or leaves you vulnerable. If you want more conversations like this, stay tuned.